Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today is Sunday, so you know what that means. We're going around the net with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And on the docket for today, we have much to get to. We have Samsung potentially challenging the Apple Card years later. We have Chase tightening their reins even further on the ink offers. And we have the headline of the week, which is the Visa Mastercard lawsuit versus the merchants and retailers. Looks like they have another deal on the table. Don't worry, we'll spare you the fiery doom and gloom thumbnails, but we will break it down for you to close out the show. So, of course, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, batting leadoff, we have Capital One, who's got an interesting leak, I guess you could say. It was found that they were testing, so they have some placeholder transfer partners on their site that were leaked. So if you take a look at this, you can see they've got, Gollum Air, Elven Air, so Legolas, I guess, and then one just called Test Program. I don't know who was in charge of the one called Test Program. They were not the most creative person around. But there you go. You can see it's 1,000 Capital One miles to 500 for each of them. So apparently traveling to Middle Earth, not as lucrative as one would have hoped. We got this from the Doctor of Credit. So there you go. Not much to say really about it. Just, leaks are fun. So they could just, be routinely testing some stuff, or they could potentially be placeholders for more transfer partners. I would honestly hope they're just tests because the ratios are pretty bad. But again, even if they were just placeholders, there's nothing stopping them from changing the ratios later. But we'll see. So something to keep an eye on. I guess if you're Capital One faithful, let me know what transfer partners you would like to see them add. Now, we've been on a run of talking about debit cards lately, and this is about the Venmo debit card because Venmo has launched a new rewards program for their debit card. And I include this because, a lot of the hardcore folks out there can still come up with some interesting strategies around debit cards and cashback programs like that. So if we take a look at what Venmo has going on for us, here you go. It's called Venmo Stash. And so Stash customers choose from curated bundles of their favorite brands to earn up to 5% cash back on their Venmo debit card. Purchase from top retailers, on-demand services, restaurants that match their lifestyle. So you can see, you've got Mickey D's, TikTok Shop, Uber Eats, Domino's, DoorDash, Walgreens, Walmart, Lyft, Taco Bell, ESPN, GameStop. Those are the ones they've given examples of. So how does it work? So it starts, as we said, with the Venmo Debit Mastercard, giving customers 1% cash back when they spend their balance. Again, it's the money in your Venmo checking account, I guess you could say. Easy and free to sign up. I have one, so that is true. Rewards then grow to 2% cash back when customers turn on auto reloads to keep money moving over to your Venmo account. And then you can get up to 5% back when they receive direct deposits on Venmo each month. And again, they say next year Venmo Stash will expand to include more ways to get rewards. So overall, it's not too bad. We don't have I didn't go far enough to see the details of how much direct deposit you have to allocate to Venmo. It really just comes down to the options that they have, and do you want 5%? It could be another avenue again for a 5% card. Not as good, no, not even close to as good as the PayPal debit card, because the PayPal debit card, weirdly enough, still going strong with this 5% categories, doesn't have these requirements of direct deposit and auto reload and such, but another tool in your belt is always, or tool in your arsenal or wallet, I should say, is always helpful. So there you go, something to keep in mind. Now, a very niche tool that maybe one of you out there maybe will want to add to your credit card arsenal, or maybe your golf bag, I should say, is the golf credit card. Now, I include this in here for fun. We do like taking a look at new credit cards. This one does get style points for being unique. So if we take a look at this, this is going to be from Celtic Bank or Celtic Bank. I would assume Celtic since we say Boston Celtics, but either way, it is a golf credit card, and as you can imagine, it is focused on folks who like to golf. Now, there's currently a wait list for it if you are interested, but here's what we do know. It's got an annual fee of $250. You do get quite a bit for it though, so it's $3 back on all golf purchases, $2 back on travel and dining, and up to $10 back on partner purchases, which would be $5 back at Golf Breaks, True Spec Golf, Manners, Fairway Jockey, Golfballs.com, Worldwide Golf. various multipliers there. Again, on their website, which I have linked at Profitable Content for you, they do go into much more detail than I'm going to go into here. Now, credits, $250 Random Golf Club or Random Golf Course, $200 Golf Traveler, $75 Supreme Golf, $100 Golf Pioneer, $150 Trendy Golf, $75 True Swing, 20% off course maps, 25% off snaps, and $20 Boring Ball credit. The intro offer again is 20,000 points with 4,000 spent in the first 90 days. You can redeem these points at select partners for exclusives like bucket list experiences, world-renowned courses, or redeem for essential gear. So there you go. Again, their website does go into detail on how every single coupon works. Who would have ever thought that this card of all cards would likely out-platinum the Platinum card? I mean, it's quite a bit coupons. This is so very niche. They do tout it as $1,100 in value. And I mean, if you can use all these things, then yes. So for somebody, sure. I don't know how long this card's going to last, but it's out there. So there you go. A golf card. Get ready for next season. Now, if you're more of a tech person, tech fan like myself, probably want a more potentially mainstream card, well, then Samsung may have you covered years later, because Samsung is now rumored to be coming out or working on their own credit card as well as their own type of mobile wallet type deal to compete with the Apple Card and, of course, Apple Wallet. So we take a look at this. This is from Samsung Mobile. As they say, they're reportedly working on a credit card and mobile wallet product of their own. It's, of course, going to challenge the Apple Card. That's who they've got their sights set on. These reports are suggesting Samsung is to talk with Barclays as the banking partner and Visa as the payment network. It will be a cashback card, of course, allowing rewards to be transferred to a Samsung account to buy Samsung gear. I assume you can cash out from a Samsung account. This is kind of interesting to me because two companies come to mind when I think of how are you losing so badly, and that's Samsung and Sony. And this is a little bit beyond credit cards, but if you think about it, not just in the war for credit cards, but how Apple has built up their ecosystem. Yes, I'm a pretty big sheeple, as you can see. We're reading this off of an iPad, which is totally overkill, but anyways, Sony, who has their own credit card as well, they basically own your living room with the PlayStation 5. They've got the TV, they've got the headphones. This is a Sony camera. They've got all this stuff that you use, which you would think they'd easily bring together for an ecosystem and completely own your home. You could say the same about Samsung. No game console, but plenty of appliances. Their phones are arguably more innovative, more feature-packed than Apple's have been in quite some time, and yet they all stumble. Now, I know overseas, in Korea and with a Sony Japanese, I think, they're much bigger deals, but still, it just seems like they both missed the mark. And they're pretty late to the game on this card, especially since you can see that it's not working for Apple or Apple's partner, so that's also an interesting play. And Apple did, at least to their credit, go the extra mile and then some to build out a user interface and all that sort of thing. I don't know that Samsung's going to do that much, hence, the bringing up Samsung not owning your home the way they should with all their other devices and gadgets they have. So I don't expect too much. I would love to see it because, with Apple finding a new partner, and it's leaning towards Chase the last time I saw online. It would be nice to see someone push Chase and Apple to have to make their card better. Cards do serve as a great way to lock folks in, but I wouldn't expect too much. And, at least the benefit of Apple is that they do sell a lot of services. Whether they're useful or not is another story. As for Samsung, I would assume they would apply it not just to their phones and some services, but their other devices and gadgets and things like that. So we'll keep an eye out for it. I like to talk about it if it does come true. It just seems like they're very late to the party. But hey, look, if the golf card can exist, why can't the Samsung Galaxy credit card exist? So moving on to something that does exist, has existed for quite some time, and boy, have we taken advantage of, is the Chase Ink cards, especially the Ink Unlimited and the Ink Cash card. Ink Cash card being one that I have. Actually, I have both of them. I just use the Cash card. Well, we've talked about this before. Chase's tightening of the reins, if you will, on the ink offers and ink referrals. We had a story a while back where you can still refer, like if you could refer me to an ink cash card, but since I already have a card and I'm a customer, you're not going to get a referral bonus for referring an existing customers, where you could just refer whoever you wanted, no matter how many products they had, which makes sense. It's annoying, but it does make sense. Well, now Chase is out with more language defending the intro offers this time. So last time was referral, this time's intro. So if you take a look at it, and Danny the Deal Guru found this first. He said, so this is on, again, cash and unlimited. New card member bonuses may not be available to you if you have ever had this card or any other Chase for business card without an annual fee. We may also consider factors pertinent to your business in determining your bonus eligibility. So, again, it's another one of those rules that they may or may not choose to enforce. It definitely adds the potential to now make these once per lifetime offers if you have ever had the card. I do like the call of like, no, if you have our paid products, our annual fee versions, and like, yeah, you could do that. Because it says without any annual fee. So I don't know if you have ever had this card or any other Chase card for business card without an annual fee. So I don't think they're saying if you currently hold like a Sapphire business, we'll just give you one even if you've done more of those. They could have clarified that a little bit better. I think it's a little bit nebulous in my opinion, which is kind of the point, I guess. And of course, they can also use your business, which I was probably going to look at, like how much business do you do with us? What's your business relationship like? Are you just a sole prop like most of us do for our cards, So unfortunate to see, but again, I think it's more than fair given how we've kind of rammed through the Inc. 900s. Overall, so we'll have to see if it's actually enforced and if it expands to be one of their pop-up jail rules. I don't know that they're doing pop-up jail on the ink cards. I know it was on the personal cards. I believe they started when they revamped the Sapphire card. So, what are they going to do with this extra savings from intro offers? Well, it looks like they're going to shove it over to the Sapphire Reserve, the personal Sapphire Reserve. So this is from the Doctor of Credit. We'll put this on screen now because it appears that Chase is preparing a targeted 200,000 point offer for the Sapphire Reserve. So you can see the memo here that's going around to bankers, which isn't too bad. It's 200,000 UR points for spending 10 grand in the first 6 months from account opening. We've seen, the launch offer was like 100,000 points plus $500 travel credit. Then they changed it to 125,000 points later, and you could also have gotten the referral at that time potentially for your wife or someone referring you. So maybe they're just shifting over some budget. That's a lot of times that's kind of what I think it is. We've seen Chase especially, you can tell what kind of cards they're focusing on. Interesting to see this now, because normally March, April is the time when they bring forward the Sapphire cards. So, I also do wonder if the Sapphire Reserve was pretty much of a slow seller. Again, I'm not a big fan of the refresh. I don't think there's much there to be had given the fee hike and all that, but we've been over that. So if you do get this offer, I would still take it. 200,000 points even on a $700-800 card, still pretty good overall. So there you go. Now, if you do get that card, it is a Visa Infinite, and this could definitely impact you depending on how the payment network, specifically Visa and Mastercard, end up settling with the merchants or the retailer. So if you get back to it, there's been a lawsuit for quite some time where retailers, merchants were very upset. They called it antitrust because, if I'm a store, I have to run a Visa card through the Visa payment network. I don't get to choose the card a customer brings to me. There's no fee competition there. Visa sets the prices, Mastercard sets the prices. And they've gone back and forth on this for well over a decade or so, 20 years, I think the article said. I got this from Reuters. And there was a settlement a while back, last year, I believe, but the judge said, no, go back, come back with something else. And so now there's another proposal on the table. So what I understand is this still needs to be approved by the judge, but they are looking to settle this. So all the headlines you're going to see say Visa and Mastercard come to a $38 billion settlement over the swipe fees. So the main points, again, from Reuters. The settlement calls for Visa and Mastercard to lower swipe fees, which averaged 2.35% in 2024 and typically range from 2% to 2.5% by 0.1 percentage point for 5 years. Number two, merchants would be able to choose whether to accept U.S. cards in specific categories, including commercial cards, premium consumer cards, including many rewards cards, and standard consumer cards. Standard consumer rates would be capped at 8 years at 1.25% or more than the 25% reduction. And merchants would also get more options to impose surcharges when people pay by card, including an unfettered ability to charge up to 3% according to a court filing. Some of this is interesting. Reuters, which I like, but it's kind of like a synopsis, especially the fourth point. Like I've seen people charge more than 3%. When I bought my watches, the dealer charged 3.5%. I did it because I had the Smartly at the time, so I still made out in that 0.5%. So anyways, that's what's on the table. Have to see if it gets approved. You're going to see a lot of headlines, a lot of people reacting like this is the end of rewards and things like that. Does it potentially have a play into credit card rewards? Possibly. I don't know this is that big of a win for retailers or that big of an impact, really. I think this is going to be a lot like some of the tariff stuff, and don't worry, before some of you snowflakes freak out, I won't mention his name and scare you off, I promise. But the news had always used like examples of like the iPhone or the tariffs, if they were going to go up on that or not. And like the tariffs was never going to go up 100% or 30% or whatever the number was. Your iPhone was never going to cost that much. Because Apple and the carriers make so much money on these, they would have done something to help mitigate that. It might be some pass-through, but it was never going to be all of it. So I don't really know why we were freaking out. And that's kind of what I mean by this. I think the banks, they in the payment networks, they still make so much money off of these things that they'll find a way to still keep these pretty lucrative. Could you see things like maybe, rewards get capped a little bit more and true offers pull back a little bit while they sort it out? Possibly. But I also think from the merchant standpoint, one, I've seen them do this stuff or heard stories of them do this stuff anyways. I've seen higher than 3%. I've heard stories of them pushing folks to use other credit cards. It's rare, or I don't know if it's rare. I've rarely seen stories of that, but it happens. So they just have permission now. We don't have like a breakdown of what cards fall into what categories. Commercial cards, I assume is that business cards. Premium consumer cards like the Venture X, Platinum, Sapphire Reserve, or what is a standard consumer card? Is the City Double Cash a standard consumer card? I don't know. I don't think that part really matters too much. The article, they did interview somebody who's basically like, what are you going to do? Tell your customer that I'm not taking their card? It's not, that part's not really going to work because the amount of people who actually understand they have a Visa Infinite or a Mastercard World Elite or Mastercard Legend is so few and far between that could you imagine you've got someone at checkout ready to give you money and you're like, no, we don't take your card. Like, what do you mean? It worked at the store I was at 5 minutes ago. So I don't really think that's going to be a viable option. And even if it was, you'll see it, I would guess. But it's not like you're going to roll into Cheesecake Factory and they're going to be like, no, sir, we do not take the American Express Gold Card here anymore. That's not going to happen. If you did see it, it would be at those small hole-in-the-wall spots who are already charging 3% more for credit card anyways, who on occasion will try to get people to use a different card. Maybe. It's small establishments, things like that. And, to be honest, if you're min-maxing everything, the majority of the ones that would be at the most risk, I would guess, would be dining cards. Amex Gold, Venture X, Sapphire Reserve, Strata Elite, things like that. Everywhere else, I would imagine, will you be using your catch-all card in most cases, 2% card, something like that, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal because I would put 2% card in a non-premium card, but again, I don't know where they fall. So I don't think we need to break out the fiery thumbnail just yet. I don't think it's the end of credit card rewards by any means. We still need to see if it gets accepted. I don't know that this actually changes that much, and I think it's because of the consumers. And as we said, I simply can't imagine many stores sitting down and trying to explain to a customer why they won't accept their credit card when it was just accepted at the same store the other day or the store they went to 10 minutes ago before they got it. I just don't see that happening. I can see the surcharge, but we already see the surcharges. And at that point, just don't go back to the store if you don't want to pay the surcharge or bring another payment method. We all have options. The first time they get you, I blame the store. The second time, well, that's a choice. So anyways, I know it'd be much easier to do a fiery thumbnail at the end of credit card rewards. I simply think it's too early to tell. And I think consumer behavior and consumer trends are probably the linchpin in this. So yes, the retailers can save a few percentage points, maybe quarter points, something like that. Visa and Mastercard can just settle this thing. Everyone can keep printing money and it'll be fine. They'll find another way to make up for this money. The banks can always just adjust interest rates up a little bit higher, something like that. Cap reward, add instead of, $1,500 a quarter cap, maybe they move it down. I don't think that'll happen, but there are ways to offset this. I think they'll be fine. So anyways, that's my thoughts. I guess it is not a good video if we don't freak out about it, but again, we'll follow it, especially want to see if there's any revisions or if this does get accepted by the judge. But of course, if this has been the news for the week, so if you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel, so we're posting content just like this every single week. And of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. And of course, every single day over on ProfitableContent.com, which is the channel's blog, always linked down below for you. And of course, on the channel homepage, we have news stories just like this, plenty of bank promotions, which truthfully are more lucrative, and I'd rather those not get capped than credit cards. But while credit cards are still in existence, we have some of those offers too, including some Chase 900s. So anyways, that'll do for this one. As always, thanks so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.